Leader of the Green Party, Zach Polansky, laid into Reform UK's Zia Yusuf last night on Question Time, calling the party's policies racist, prompting a furious response.
Nigel Farage, he joined forces with the Swedish Democrats in the European Parliament. This is a far-right Nazi group. They want to deport people, not based on the colour of his skin, but from the places that they've come from. They also, Nigel Farage, talked about it being the end of democracy because of the way certain ethnic minorities are voting. This is racism, it's fascism, and we should call it out.
Zia Yusuf came back with a takedown of all the Greens' policies.
He literally made money by charging women on the promise that he could literally enlarge the size of their breasts by hypnotising them. His policies are even more insane. He wants a world without borders, he wants open borders, he wants us to stand down and destroy our nuclear deterrent as Vladimir Putin belligerently marauds into Ukraine. He wants a communist economic system, he wants to legalise all drugs.
Zach Polansky, in response, said he had done the hypnotherapy as an experiment, not as a routine treatment. This is the latest jibe from the left, casting Reform UK as a racist party. At Labour conference, Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy came under fire for false allegations he made about Nigel Farage.
Is Nigel Farage a racist?
I answered your question. I'm not going to play the man. I'm playing the ball as our leader did. I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger.
Farage called the false comments beneath contempt.
David Lammy obviously uttering this extraordinary phrase about you flirting with Hitler Youth when you were younger. I was slightly gobsmacked by that allegation. I think that goes so far towards inciting hate against you. How do you feel about that on a personal level?
Well, he withdrew it afterwards, but you know what? It is, as a comment, so beneath contempt. It's so beneath contempt, I'm not even going to respond to it.
And the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, was condemned for casting Farage's politics as a dark force.
And the question I ask seriously of Nigel Farage and Reform is, do they love our country? Do they want to serve our country, all of it, our beautiful, tolerant, diverse country, every region, nation and city? Or do they just want to stir the pot of division because that works in their interests?
This came days after Starmer branded their deportation plans as racist.
Well, I do think that it's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
Nigel Farage accused the Prime Minister of a low blow.
The Prime Minister has decided to descend into the gutter and all of his cabinet with him. We should control our borders. You are, by the definition of the Prime Minister and his cabinet, all racists. But to accuse countless millions of being racist is a very, very low blow. Why? Well, this language will incite and encourage the radical left. I'm thinking of Antifa and other organisations. I used to think the Prime Minister was a decent man, somebody that I could talk to and chat to. We might disagree on worldview, but I thought he was a profoundly decent human being. I am completely shocked at his behaviour. I hope when he wakes up tomorrow morning, he feels ashamed of what he has done. This is a desperate last throw of the dice from a Prime Minister who's in deep trouble.
Despite a backlash against Labour's aspersions, the left appears to be set on a narrative whereby strong immigration policies are a sign of totalitarianism rather than law enforcement.
So Zach Polansky there on Question Time with Zia Yusuf of Reform sitting just a few people away from him, essentially accusing Reform of being, or Nigel Farage of being aligned with the far-right Nazi group. Ties into The Guardian's front page in a way, because Nigel Farage is on there as well. Nigel Farage has predicted teachers will go on strike within weeks of a Reform UK government, and he's accused them of poisoning our kids by telling them that black children are victims and white children are oppressors. The Reform UK leader set out his view on British schools at an event in the US, claiming that the Marxist left was now in control of our education system. Who wants to pick up on this first then? Simon, do you want to give this a go?
Funny enough, I watched that clip online earlier, the Question Time one, and at some length, and Zia Yusuf got his own back by bringing up the hypnotising women to get larger breasts story.
Yeah.
So it sort of descended into a certain amount of sort of schoolyard badder. But I mean, it is partly... There is a taint because that group that he mentions, the Swedish party, are very hard right. They're considerably further to the right than Reform. And so I'm not surprised he raises it. But, of course, there are, diplomatic protocols that are at play when
as we've just been discussing.
Yeah, but when you're within the European Union and, there are all these different groups and so on, and obviously the sort of populist right is an emerging phenomenon in Europe at the moment. And what you call the far right, is forming the largest party in a number of larger nations now. So that very term is becoming problematic. I don't think they're Nazis by any means, but they are stern about remigration, which is a word you're going to start hearing more of,
yes,
I think.
True.
So anyway, that's, it is a ridiculous taint. But Zach Polanski, I mean, he's an extraordinary and frankly, rather baffling phenomenon, isn't he? I find him deeply repellent, I have to say, on a sort of almost personal level, which perhaps is a bit unfair. But as Yusuf explained on Question Time, the Green Party policies are absolutely absurd. I mean, they are every bit as biscuit barrel as they ever were, arguably more so.
Would you sound like a couple of them?
Well, they completely open borders, complete decriminalisation of all drugs.
Including crack and heroin.
Exactly. Everything you can ever remember from the wildest west of the Lib Dems in the 80s, they've dragged back up. And they see themselves somehow, I think, as a sort of paramilitary wing of the resistance against reform. I don't think they can conceivably, expect to win any seats at the next parliament. Well, not especially now that Trump has secured the Gaza peace, because that was the basis on which all the Green parliamentary seats were secured at the last.
There is also quite an unholy alliance, if you'll excuse the pun, between the Green Party and basically the kind of Muslim vote, right? And there's the slightly more hardline pro-Gaza aspect to that. And just on that, by the way, I wasn't planning on doing this now, but I can see we've got a clip loaded up. Is there any chance we can play this clip for you? Which is so this is the Muslim Forum, and in case you're not aware of what it is, fair enough, we'll tell you in a second. But just on this, the Green Party's kind of links with, you see people like Mothin Ali and people like that who are part of it. This was, as the guy who's now being described as Brother Hamza in at the Muslim Forum earlier. So look at this.
We either try and do something different to try and self-organise Muslims.
There's a longer clip of that we'll get for you. But I just thought it ties in, actually, because the Green Party trying to get into bed with the kind of quotes-unquote Muslim vote, and then they're going out there calling people like Nigel Farage and, a far-right Nazi and all of that. I just find it very odd.
Yes, it's very strange, this marriage between the woke left and the Islamists, and I think the Islamists plan to be married to them until they've served their purpose, and then get rid of them. I mean, we've had some really wacky policies coming out of the Green Party
Useful idiots, you might call them.
So I believe they want to essentially ban TERFs, right? But I'm pretty sure, although we may have had some idiot on the streets of New York talking to Ben Leo saying that Mohammed was a trans woman, I think in Gaza, most of the Islamists who are supporting the Green Party for that reason, its deputy leader, probably aren't really the biggest fan of transgender people. So it is very, very strange. And at what point did liking the environment mean that suddenly you support Marxism and Islamism?
Well,
it's crazy. They're also saying that they said at their conference that they want to basically just get rid of private landlords. They want to make as much housing as possible, just all social housing. I mean, this is socialism.
They're a perfect alliance because they're both cover stories for the destruction of Western civilization. But the Green Party are just communists. They are watermelons. And Islam just wants to destroy the West and establish a caliphate all around the world and is not shy of expressing that ambition. So that's why. But it's not without precedent. They did it in Iran, right? The left and the Islamists.